Wow! What's happening, everybody? Yes, sir. It's your boy. We are back. We are back. Wait, let me. I can't even do my introduction right. Y'all, guess what? Guess who come flying into the studio all late and everything, and now she gonna sit up here and being all prepared and everything like she's been ready for the last 3 hours. Like, yes, yeah.
I've been
Y'all
ready for
don't
three
know.
minutes,
Yeah,
but I'm
y'all
ready.
don't know. I have my sister in the building, Dr. Candice Saraparu. Dr. Saraparu, what's happening?
What's going on, Dr. Stanley?
See, now we starting. See, don't start. Don't you start. Don't you start.
Congratulations. Two black doctors in the building.
Hey, we in the building. We in the building. We in the building. Listen, if y'all just joining us, this is Stanley Doucette and Dr. Saraparu. We are here in the building on Let's Talk with Stanley Doucette. I am he, your host, and today I have actually, I'm just gonna call her our own in-house therapist because y'all know I'm a little throwed off at days. Y'all need to pay her even more money because she deal with me. Lord, I don't even know what to say. What's up, sis? How you been?
I have been well. I love that you are preeminently giving me the title doctor. I have 2 more weeks to defend. We know we're going, we both know I'm going to pass, so you can go ahead and do that. And then I graduate in May. But yes, so soon to be doctoral candidate. That's what we'll call it. But we family, call first name. All right. So I won't call you
Yeah.
Dr. Stanley anymore. But again, congratulations on your honor, doctorate.
I truly
And
appreciate that. I don't get caught up into titles. But I have to get you on now. Yo, well listen, y'all eavesdropping into a conversation with my sister and I. But listen, get right into some stuff. I've been going off lately. Some stuff been going off lately. Sometimes I just be thinking people then lost their mind in the world. What do you know what has been going on or any thoughts on like just I mean it just feel like the whole world and lost its mind.
so I'm taking off the professional hat, right? I'm going to just be Candice. Agree. Everybody has lost their mind. I actually said, like, I don't know if there's a full moon that's just been hovering over. I don't know if it's just in our space. Maybe it's just in the South. I can't speak to the whole world. But
Right.
people, yes, yes, things are not lining up in the order that I expect. So we don't have the ability, usually to predict behavior based on past behavior. Not anymore. Not anymore. Now anything goes. I think we bypassed our brains and it just comes straight from our feet through our mouths. And people are saying things and doing things, and I cannot explain it from a therapeutic space. So, yes, I'm going to go with you on this. Things just don't seem to be in decency and in order like we used to.
It's definitely not in order.
Mhm.
It's definitely not in order. So, it's crazy. One of my friends, I was conversing with one of my friends, and we were just talking, and she said, Stanley, what happened to standards? Like, just what happened to standards? I was like, listen, I don't even know what to say. Some things you would think certain things would occur, you think certain things would happen, but none of that's going on. So I don't even know which direction to even turn to about those standards.
So I think standards are not standard anymore, what you're saying, and we have lost a sense of decency and shame, or shame. We don't have shame anymore. People, because, and I don't want to blame social media because I think social media is a great tool. It has connected us in ways that we were not able to stay connected before. But in some ways, things that were private, kitchen table talk, now has become public consumption, and we don't necessarily see the line anymore. So, you know, we don't have the checks and balances that we used to have, where if you said something, maybe we had elders. Now, this is something I told somebody the other day and they got offended. I hope you don't get offended. But you are an elder. So when
Hmm.
we're looking around for the older people who used to put us straight, unfortunately, they're deceased. And we're
Yeah.
the older people. and we have not rightfully taken our place in the
Man,
in
that's you know what? That's
that.
deep.
That's what I see. Because I even for myself, I'm like, oh, I'm a young social worker, and somebody said, well, how long you been doing this? I said, oh, over 25 years. They said you about to retire.
Right.
No, you're right. I have more career behind me than I probably don't have another 25 years in front of me. Most of my career is going to be behind me. So have I taken my space in the world as that elder, right?
But doesn't that bring up something different though, sis? Doesn't that bring up like, okay, so the first time I ever got this AARP letter addressed to me in the mail, it's like my daddy don't live here.
Hey, right.
So what is that psychological or what is that space when you start to see those midlife crisis and what people talk about? Now people going to spend $300,000 to go get their favorite car or go do something really crazy. What
Now
is
that's
that
not a midlife
space?
crisis.
Does
We
not?
just no, we finally got us, a couple of dollars. I always say I got two, and I'm about to use mine to get me my car or whatever. I think that's different. But what
Okay.
I think is we're not seeing what we used to see as midlife crisis. So before, people kind of had that space where they recognize more of my life is behind me, in front of me. Let me go ahead and knock some things off my bucket list. So you're talking about
Mhm.
maybe in the 80s, 90s when people would go get that sports car because they recognize this might be my last shot. And what I
Right.
see is more that we don't recognize that we're getting older. So if you ask me, what happened 30 years ago, I'm going to think about the 1970s.
The
But 30 years
1970s?
ago, well, right, if I don't do the math and I don't really like, if you ask me 30 years ago what year was it, I'm going to be like, oh, it has to be the 70s. No, that was 50 years ago. But
Right.
then that would make what? Because we're not in our, well, right. Let's move on. We're not going to give our age.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Don't go down. Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? And so when I hear like kids will say, if you were born in 2000, you're old. I'm like, no, if you're born in 2000, you're a baby. No, if you're born in 2000, you're 25.
right,
That's a full
right.
grown up, right? With a job and a college
What
degree.
is it?
So then if that 25-year-old is a full grown up, then what am I? And I don't think that we reflect on that. So I don't see us having those midlife crises. What I see more is that we have just like Peter Pan syndrome. We refuse to grow up. Again, not shading anybody because even myself, Forever 21, the store,
Mhm.
you probably shouldn't be 50 shopping in there. You shouldn't even walk through and look and see what they have. Because you're not 21. But I think that's the sentiment is that I'm always, I want to be young forever. But then what happens is then the young people now will appear. And
Mhm.
now I can't give them the admonishment that our elders gave us, right? When an elder told me, watch how you're walking, I watched how I was walking because of the respect. I don't see the respect is there for us because we refuse
That's
to take
yeah,
our space.
that's true. That's true. I remember my mentor telling me, if you don't address what's wrong, you agreeing with it.
Hmm.
It's like there's some things that's wrong, and if we just sitting there like, oh, I don't want to deal with it. Well, are you actually engaging in that? So there's some things that I've just been thinking about as we've
Hmm.
just been, I was saying that AARP, that was like, what y'all got the wrong.
Well, you're too young for this, but just know there's a lot of discounts you can get if you were to admit that that was a right call. But you get
These
to decide.
discounts.
But there are some discounts at some of probably your favorite places that you start to get as a senior
Yeah,
citizen.
well, my name's Junior.
But the reality is, when you look at the age, when I found out, I think Waffle House gives discounts to seniors who are 55 plus. Like, well, wait, when seniors 55? Hold up, wait, let's fix this.
Listen, a few more years, IHOP, Waffle House, all of them gonna get real close. Y'all get
Yeah,
discounts?
a lot of places do. A lot of places give senior discounts. So, but are we recognizing that we're getting into that frame of being seniors, right? And I don't want to pick on our generation because I think when we were saying, you were saying people are acting crazy. The boomers have something going on too,
That's
right?
true. That's true.
You know,
Now, let me ask you this though. This is something you made me think of something. So, as we are growing into this, I'll say being the actual adults in the room, right?
we're
Now,
not
all of
growing
a
into
sudden,
it. We're already
see, I
kind of,
was hoping you didn't catch that. I was
yeah,
hoping you.
yeah. You said growing into being adults, and that's the point. We are not growing into being adults. We're growing out of being adults and growing into being the seniors.
Oh, girl, we going. I'm see. I was hoping you didn't catch that. You're
Okay,
supposed to
but go
let
ahead,
that
finish
go,
your sentence. Finish your sentence. Let me not cut you off. Go
but
ahead, finish it.
but let me say this. So that all of that is what you're saying is true. But now there are people now legitimately talking about retirement and looking at what's next. And I'm hearing people empty, what is it, empty nest syndrome and all of those
Hmm.
different things. How in your profession and the things that you're seeing, how is it that they are actually impacting the individual parents, not the kids, but the actual individual parents? Is it having a big and major impact on them?
So I will say that again, I work with the population of people who have recognized that they're having a mental health issue and have sought services, right? So this is not speaking to the general public, but to my subset of people that I talk to, yes, it's affecting them. And I think the biggest effect is because they did not prepare for it. They did not recognize it was going to happen. Even in some ways, we tell ourselves things that are not true, but we
Hmm.
believe they will be true, right? So they, have parents who are doing their children's rooms, so that when they graduate college and they come home, they'll have their room set up. And I say, your child's not coming back home. The honest truth is, your grown up that you sent into this world did well in college and they got the degree and they have multiple job offers and none of them are in your home, right? They're going to be
That's right.
leaving. And you're not prepared. A lot of us are not prepared for our children to actually leave and thrive as adults. So we're struggling. Other people, again, the people I'm talking to, they're struggling with that. A lot of times we didn't continue to nurture ourselves as individuals, right? We gave everything to our children, which is wonderful. We're great parents. But then, we look at our spouse, and after 25 years of raising our children, we don't even know that person. And
Lord, God,
we don't know what we like. We know that with the children, Fridays, that's something in my house. Every Friday we have pizza because my youngest loves pizza. I don't
right.
know when he leaves. I don't love pizza like that. It's good, but I don't. You know what I mean? Like, so then, what our Friday? Are we gonna still have pizza Fridays? And he's probably not gonna come, or
Probably won't.
find out that we never liked pizza. We don't know, and I think you have to be open to discovering that new relationship of emptiness. But some people just long for the old. Like the things are changing, and they're still holding on to what was.
But doesn't that go to a deeper issue? Because I don't want to go. I don't. I'm used to what happened before. I'm used to this. Or I'm used to that. I don't want to make a change. I don't want to talk
Mm-hmm.
about this one or that one. My child or my children are not there. Yeah, like how do I make that change? Like I just want to still stay and still putting them in your arms and swinging them but
No.
help me.
So I think the only thing that you ever heard the phrase, the only thing constant is change. Like
Yes.
change is going to happen. And I find reflecting on your life's journey is so helpful when you start to parent your children because you
Hmm.
recognize, oh, I remember what it was like to be 22. Yeah, she want to go by her boyfriend. She don't want to come over here with, what I
That's
mean?
right.
Like I just, and then that way you can like having that empathy for what they're going through and encouraging what is normal for their development, right? We don't want to stifle their development. We want to encourage what's normal for our child's development, which is for them to go off and find a mate and have what they think we have. That perfect marriage that they think their parents have. It's normal for them to go and get that. And so we don't want to stifle that. And it's also, normal to grieve it. Grieve what was
Hmm.
what was. It's okay to sit and say, okay, that's what happened. And now how do we move forward? Let's not try to keep doing the old. Let's create this new normal. But I really think we should talk about this more so we plan for it. So it's not You don't have to go through the grief process if you already plan for what is the next chapter of my life going to look like, right? While I'm in this chapter and I'm enjoying this chapter, having the forethought to know that there is a next chapter and having a plan for that.
I think that is a ding, ding, ding moment. I think ding, 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 ding. I think that
Mm-hmm.
is powerful because a lot of times, a lot of people, men and women,
Mm-hmm.
get caught up into their children and don't look or don't, what would I say, have that realization that, listen, this is not always going to be. And they began to grieve when they were 6 or when they were 10 or when we traveled to this place and we traveled to that place and began to make excuses. I think also, and this is my opinion on this, I think also with that being said, internally, they don't want to face that a lot of things that they talked about or they should have done when their kids
Mm-hmm.
were still there for themselves. Now they don't want to
Mm-hmm.
face that because now I think what you said, they have to now face themselves. And
Mm-hmm.
oh, now you got put your big boy drawers on, put your big boy big girl panties on, because you have to now face yourself. You can't lie to yourself. You can act like it, but yourself
Mm-hmm.
knows.
And one of the hardest things, or one of the questions I always ask, especially people who are coming to me in this phase of life, kind of transitional space, and they're experiencing depression. I would say, okay, be intentional about making yourself happy right now. Because you have the time, right? When you are parenting full time, because we never stop parenting, but when you were a full time parent, you felt selfish if you said, I'm going to focus on me being happy and my children, need something. But it's like now your children are grown. Focus on you being happy. And one of the saddest things is a lot of people tell me, I have no idea what makes me happy. I have not even thought about it. So like that becomes more like I have the time. There's no child. I can do whatever I want. I have the resources. I don't have the financial constraints, right? I'm not paying for daycare. I'm not paying for dance anymore. I have the money. I have the time. Physically, I'm still healthy. I just don't know what to do. I don't know what would bring me joy.
Ooh, ooh, that's deep though. That I mean, when something don't know, well, let me interject one other part in there. When you go through a divorce, add that pupil or those pupils in there as
Mm-hmm.
well. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm saying you. I'm ding ding dinging you. Yes, that's it. Anytime you go through one of those big phase of life transitions, like your life has completely changed, you do face yourself, and you have to realize maybe I don't know me. Like you said, facing myself, but I recognize I don't even recognize myself.
What makes you happy? I mean, all of a sudden
Mm-hmm.
you went from a house of everybody in, all of a sudden you're in a house by yourself.
Right.
So now it's like, ooh, I gotta make myself happy. What does that look like? I'm so used to this or so used to that, but I don't even know what make myself happy. Like truly happy, not the
Truly,
fake.
that right.
Yeah, not
Right.
that
Mm-hmm.
fake. Oh yeah, me and my sister Candice, we went out last night. We had a great, not that one.
Well, you bring up another point. What happens is because we don't know, we do typically go out, right? Because
Hmm.
I don't have to face myself when I'm out because it's a social environment. And my great time consists of generally either eating or drinking or eating and drinking, right? Which are not nothing inherently wrong with either of those things, but health wise, not the best.
Not the
And so then
best.
we start to create, instead of facing like, let me figure out what makes me happy, we start to create these other issues, which maybe we become over emotionally eaten or over dependence on alcohol to have enjoyment, which is not true joy, which is like your point. Like what really makes me happy, what brings me true joy.
So let's look at that solution. What do you think would be a great solution for the divorcees, for the parents that are now becoming empty nesters, for the parents that are moving into retirement? What would be that actual next phase for them? What would be that solution to bring that joy? And I'll share my part in a second, but
Okay.
what do you
So
think
I'm
will
gonna give
bring
you
that
two
joy?
answers. The first answer is if you're not in that phase, like if you're not in that phase, like I just mentioned, I have 25 years of experience. I know in the next 10 years I'm gonna retire, right? Maybe and work is gonna shift. Maybe not retire completely, but full time the grind is gonna 10 years, 35 years of full-time employment is a lot. Prepare for it now, right? When you start to recognize that the marriage is ended, prepare for it now. Not saying leave, because if you're trying to repair your marriage, repair, but also sometimes the marriage is ended because I don't have that true joy, right? If I know my children are getting ready to graduate, prepare for it now. And prepare for it now sometimes is just shifting your thoughts. So it doesn't mean I have to do anything physically. I call it fantasy hobbies. So I always tell people, create some like fantasy hobbies, create that bucket list of activities. Just if you can imagine what you might like to do. So I'll give you one of my fantasy hobbies. I have never done this. I know I live in Louisiana, sportsman paradise. I have never gone fishing.
Oh, we going fishing. We going. I'm gonna call my uncle tomorrow. We going fishing.
That is one of my fantasy hobbies. I said, you know what? When I retire, I might take up fishing. Right? Women fishermen are a thing. There's a lot of them. And I said I might join. They have the something like that, right? I don't have time right now. I'm doing, this and that. But I think fishing would be really fun. I think it would be a great place for me to have that social outlet. It would be healthy. There's all these benefits. That's one of my fantasy hobbies. I have others. Okay. Say you didn't prepare. You didn't know. It just life struck you. You were not prepared. It just sometimes
Mhm.
change of life, phase of life issues happen very suddenly. You don't have time to prepare for them. Right. In that space, honor that. Like stop. Don't keep going. Which I think is something we always try to do. We just keep trying to push forward. And as you mentioned earlier, push forward doing what we used to do. Although things have changed. Stop. Sit. Be still. And try to, and listen to your inner voice. If you sit and you're still long enough, and when you're still asking yourself, what would make me happy? The answer will come. But you
Oh,
have to
that's
be
powerful.
quiet and be still in
Mm,
order for that to come.
that was worth the whole podcast right there. That was worth the
Ooh,
whole podcast. Girl, that's
see,
ding, ding,
run me
ding,
my
bling, bling,
money.
bling. Send it, send it, send it.
Send me my money.
I'm gonna put myself on the slab for this one, right?
Okay.
Last year, my dad unfortunately passed away, and went through all of that trials. And I want to talk on this one, ladies. I love y'all, but give me a second. Let me holler at the fellas for a second. We get into that zone. My dad, we were close, we were tight, and so on. And then all of a sudden, he's no longer here, right? So of course you go through all of the legal stuff, and that's a whole nother discussion. That
That's a
just bring
whole
that a
nother
whole nother
podcast.
day. But there are days where you just sit and I'm like, what in the world? Like, how did this happen? He's gone. Like, I can't pick the phone up. Now I'm talking from the male perspective. So again, ladies, give me a sec. What do you tell the men? Because you know the normal men don't cry and they hold it in, and we understand that's not healthy, but that. So what do you suggest to the men out there that are going through losing something or someone that they love so dearly, and all of a sudden it's no longer?
So my first thought is just saying that is to ask about your faith, because death is one of those spaces that it becomes a crisis of faith, right? And if you it brings you closer to your beliefs and your
Yes.
understanding about life, right? And it kind of what you're saying is back to what I was saying before. You have to take your place as the head of the family now, and that becomes very difficult because you never thought that was going to be right. You look up on the family tree, and you are now the patriarch.
That's right.
Whether or not you want it, you were thrust into that space,
I
right?
mean, kicked into it too here.
Kicked into it. Now, I always call it a privilege, but when I finish, you're gonna say this doesn't sound like a privilege. If you had the privilege of knowing your grandparent and
Yes.
watching your parent navigate the loss of their parent,
Hmm.
you're not doing this blind. You have a roadmap because you watched your parent lose their parent, and you
Yes.
watched how they moved forward and parented you in the midst of that pain.
Yeah.
So Not that you do what, you know what I mean, but you do you do what you saw. You do it. You say, okay, well, I saw my dad grieve his dad, and I saw how he grieved his dad, and I saw him get to the other side. I know I can do it too because that is who I am, right?
Right.
That is in my DNA. So I'm gonna do similar. Grief is one of those things though that also becomes familiar as we're at an age now where if you have not grieved, it's coming. But most of us have grieved before. So I
Yes.
always say pay attention to the process because the process, even though each relationship is different and each grief is going to look different, your process of
Hmm.
how you get through grief will be very strikingly similar. And if you can pay attention to the process, you can intentionally start the process. From the moment I get the news, I know exactly what I'm going to do when I'm grieving because I've done this before. I know exactly
Yeah.
my process for me to get to the other side, right? I know what I need. I know also what I don't need. And I know how to put up a boundary and say, nope, not doing that. This is what I have to do for my healing. And so it's not automatic though, right? It's not like I'm on autopilot because that's not healing. But it's much more of a, okay, here's grief. I'm invited in, fix it a cup of coffee, sit down, let's talk about this. How we gonna do? You gotta be here, right? This is what we're gonna do. And the other side of grief is not like joy, right? Because I'm never going to be okay with the loss of my parents, except I'm
Right.
okay with the loss of my parents, if that makes sense. And anybody who's lost a parent understands. Like it's never gonna
Yeah.
be okay, but it's okay.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
I have to fully accept it that this is the circle of life. This is the life.
I remember, um, and I'm not gonna get all into my business, but I remember this.
Hmm.
I remember I was talking to you, and I was like, "Girl, I don't know how I'm gonna get to tomorrow." And you was like, "Stanley, just embrace it. You're gonna be fine. You do this with countless other people every single day, so you're gonna be fine." That was one of the most powerful pieces of advices that I received during that time because
Hmm.
it was like, wait, and you was just like, just sit down, relax, and then get into your space, get
Hmm.
into your spirituality, and then you're gonna begin to come out. It's not gonna happen in a second, but just give it a
Right.
little time and happen. And believe it or not, it was Thanksgiving. I deem it as the Thanksgiving blessing for myself because all the stuff I went through. And then last Thanksgiving, November, I went by my sister house in Port Allen. And
Hmm.
when I say we had a time, I haven't laughed belly gut. I'm talking about that. You know what I'm talking about, Ken. You know, we get
Hmm.
together. You know, it's that. I'm talking about that deep
That
laugh.
deep
I'm
laugh.
talking,
That
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. You feel it with
And
your whole spirit is in joy.
yes, yes. And
Hmm.
you start feeling it, and you can feel then the breaking of that energy, right?
Hmm.
And I'm
Hmm.
sharing this because I want to be send a message right now to those individuals that are actually grieving something, whether it's a loss of a family member, a friend, associate, or now this is important to me. I got hurt playing baseball, and that was me. That stopped.
Hmm.
And all of a sudden, at an instant, it was gone. That was my first love. But if I made it through that, made it through the all of the other, my grandparents, my dad, all of that stuff, and if I can smile and have that belly gut laugh, so can you. I know it may not be easy some days, but so can you. I know you can do it. So when we're transitioning, and even, I wanted to ask people that are losing their jobs, unfortunately, for whatever the reason may be,
Hmm.
that's all is, do you consider that also a grief as well? Or do you
Oh,
consider it
hundred
something a little
percent. That
different? Okay.
and everybody. Well, let's just say 100%. It can be. Everybody's different, right? But 100% losing your job can be something that you have to grieve over, and losing your job, whether or not it is your decision, can still be something you grieve over, right?
Mm,
Um, because of the fact that you're losing that routine, that consistency. It's that known, right? Those relationships with your coworkers, those are real relationships. some people talk to their coworkers more than they see their children, their family members. And no matter how much we say we're gonna stay together, no matter how much we say we're gonna talk we are not going to talk every day. You're gonna get another coworker in this cubicle, and you're gonna talk to her just like you used to talk to me. And
Right.
I'm gonna be doing whatever else I used to do. But so that's even like if I plan to leave my job, there's gonna be some grief. But if I unexpected, right, like right now while we're talking, if I get a call and say, listen, your job is gone, that's not just my job, that's also my lifestyle, my as we call it, our livelihood, right? So there's
Yeah.
gonna be not just grief, but maybe even some trauma because I may have to adjust my budget. And I could do it again, but I don't ever want to feel poor, right? I did college poor was college. So losing my livelihood definitely be something I would grieve over because how will I function? How will I financially function and what impacts would that be on me, right? So yes, I think grief shows up in many different spaces. And it's so grieving when you say it baseball, people who have to grieve the loss of a sport or a something that they enjoy, that is huge. And I think we don't honor all those things because even in death, we don't honor it the same way. Most people get 3 days of bereavement leave. Anybody who's lost somebody they love know 3 days is just for me to. It took me 3 days to call the job to tell them I lost my parent. Right? Like
Right.
I didn't even know the time. I was, so those 3 days was eaten up, and there was no funeral. There was nothing. By the time the funeral comes, I finally realized it might be permanent. I'm not 100% sure yet. I'm still in the denial phase, but it's starting to feel like you're not coming back.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So grief has not even started yet because I'm still denying this. I'm still in my mind. You went to the bathroom. I don't know how long you want to take because daddy needs to come out the bathroom. He's been in the bathroom a long time. Right? Grief is like that, where I haven't even acknowledged that it's happening. Usually, for myself, that's part of my process. The funeral, that casket closes some kind of way, shocks you. No matter what delusion you're in, it brings you back to reality. Okay, this is real. This is happening. And that's when I'm going to start the grieving process. So if you see me from the time I'm told that this person has died until the funeral, you're going to say, she's doing so good. She's handling it well. Oh, yeah, that's
Well,
because I'm in denial. So
yeah.
you crying and I don't even know why you're crying because I'm still
Right.
in this denial phase. While I'm in denial, I'm doing all the stuff that looks like I'm not in denial, right? I'm making the program, I'm calling the singer, got the church. I'm doing everything, but my brain has still not, it's really not processed the fact that this person is dead. The funeral is when I'm not doing anything besides sitting and watching, and I realize, wait, they're dead. And then
Yeah.
from that point on, that's when grief actually starts. So I can't come back to work.
Like the 3 days. Listen.
Not enough. But that, so I mean, just culturally, we don't honor death. We don't honor. So to tell somebody I'm grieving the loss of my job, it's hard because we don't really accept grief as a culture. We just want you to keep it moving, be happy, perform at all times, at all levels, no matter what is happening. And that's not reality.
That's not. Let me. This is real life. So when my dad died, like you said, I did it. I think it was the next week, right? So it was about a week. And like you said, you calling the pallbearers, because you want to honor your dad. He say always
Right.
call a man. When you want them to do business, call them. You don't send them a text message. You pick up the phone and you talk to them and say, hey. So I'm calling the pallbearers, right? I'm knocking it down. Okay, great. And you putting the no, I would say brochure, the program together, and
Hmm.
you met with well, my dad was Catholic, so I went with the priest, and and you got everything together, and you
Hmm.
got who gonna print it and design. Okay, all that's you knocking it down. But to your point, even though I carried my dad from my cousin and I carried my dad from the room to the gurney to put him in that bag, that's fine. Zip it up, we good. All that, never cried. But Candice, when I baby, I closed my dad's casket. When I say this, baby, I was good when I closed the casket. And the cross my dad had in his hand,
Hmm.
I closed the casket. Shout out to Patrick in Patrick's funeral home, but he gave me the cross. Thank you. Close the casket. I was good. I went and sat down and I presented that cross to my mom. Baby, when I say I present it, that was it.
That
And
was
my
it.
mom that was it. My mom recently told me, and because I was done at that point, I was under the pew. My mom recently told me, she said it was a sound she had never heard before come from me.
Hmm.
It was a sound. She said it was a scream. It wasn't a scream. It wasn't a moan. It was just something that came out of me. And it's to your point when you said it is it's real. I
Yeah.
can't open the casket again. I can't pick up. It became real.
Yeah. Well, right. And my dad's cat, same thing, from the same tree. Everybody
Yeah, yeah.
Catholic. But that want to be like, wait, can I go back? Because I need one more time just to make sure that was him in that. And there's no reopening it. I know there's some
Yep.
faiths that you can reopen it. The Catholic faith
Not
is
not
not one. Once it's
nope.
closed, that's it.
That's it. That fine
100%.
toe. Not final, but
Hmm.
fine toe. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And
I
so
forgot whatever they put over the top. I can't remember the name
I
of it.
know exactly. Yeah, I know.
Once they
Been there,
put the sheet over, yes,
well, been there,
ma'am.
done it. That's it. That's it. You're just
And I
like,
remember,
man, I should have left it open a couple of more minutes. I needed,
yeah,
but that's not the reality. Is there was never going to be an amount of time that was going to be sufficient, right? 5 minutes
yeah,
wouldn't have been enough, but it would have probably been too much too. Because, and I think
yeah.
what we're talking about though, as far as grief, the reality is that's because we are not prepared, and this is not universal. And I think we think it's universal the way we grieve in America. That's not universal. There are lots of other cultures that grieve differently because they accept that death is part of life from the beginning. We
Hmm.
know it, right? And our faith talks about it. And so I know I was in church once and somebody said, who want to go to heaven? Everybody raised their hand, right? Who want to die? All the hands went down.
Right.
I want to go to heaven, but nobody want to die.
That's right. Powerful.
So I
That's
think that's the
powerful.
reality is that we don't accept death as just a normal, natural part of our life, right? All life will end in death. And that normalizing it and us talking about it, because what happens is you go probably just like all of us, grieving your little, go in your closet and you grieve. And when I talk to families, I always say, do y'all grieve together? And they will say no, because I don't want him to see I'm sad. Or I didn't want
What?
this person to know. And you say the same thing. I say, you know what? That is so important for them to know that it affected you,
Yes,
because otherwise I start to feel like, well, I'm the only one, right?
that's
Now I
correct.
know I'm one of five. There's no way I'm the only one feeling what I'm feeling.
Right.
Even by myself, I start to feel like I'm the only one. I start to feel like everybody else
Hmm.
moved on but me. But when you bring it up and bring it to the light, that commiserating about it, like we all feel it, and we all feel it deeply. There's that healing in it, and again, we can start to talk. Once we start talking, we only stay in that sadness so long in that sense of community. We start to talk about the good times, and now we laughing, right? But
That's
by
right.
myself, that doesn't happen. When I'm grieving alone, I'm just grieving alone.
I agree. And I think the way you're articulating it is just going through with grace. Like literally pushing through or completing this cycle with grace, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times we don't want to face it. But when we're going through with grace, when we've literally sacrificed, we've pushed through, and if God forbid if somebody was sad, I mean, we did a lot, but it went through with grace. So,
Mm-hmm.
I just think it is. So, but sis, what are you doing now? Like, are you taking new patients? You not? What's going on?
I'm always doing too much. So what I do right now, we're gonna talk about just what I'm doing today.
Okay.
Right. I'm still finishing up, tweaking last final touches, putting the dot and the I, crossing the T on my dissertation, and I'll be defending soon. I have a contract with a school where I do services for children in the elementary school, social and emotional services, not just for the children, but also the teachers and the community that are, part of that school. I also do trauma therapy specifically for people involved in the criminal justice system. And then I have in my free time, you hear any time left in all of that? Additionally, I'm mother, wife, but also, I do have some individual clients that I'm seeing within my practice,
Okay.
but
That's
very limited as you can hear because time, right?
right. And also for all you guys that's out there, she's also a paid powerful speaker. Let's not get
Oh
that
yes.
confused. Now she's not gonna
Oh, see,
say
I
it.
forgot about that.
She yeah,
Forgot about
she
that.
gonna
Well, I'm
be
doing too
cool
much.
with it. Yeah, she gonna be cool with it, but she is a absolutely a powerful speaker. So don't get that confused. So for all of what is a church, what is an organization, what is something else, she is actually one of the most powerful people you can put on your whether it's a auxiliary team in front. Just she her, as they say, she her. So
Thank
all
you,
of that.
thank
So
you.
sis, anything you want to leave with the family before we get on out of here?
Well, we talked about so much that I think the best thing that I want to leave with is that we need to keep talking, right? And
Ooh,
that having these conversations about the things that are on our mind are what's going to keep us well. So let's just keep talking, talk to each other. Let's not be in our little, in our own little silos. Let's keep having community, talking to each other.
don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to say, I'm not well today. I'm not doing good
Hmm.
today. So yeah, let's just keep talking. Let's just keep talking. So sis, I appreciate you as always. I love you to life and life. So shout out to your hubby, shout out to the family, shout out to your sisters and the brothers and your uncles and aunts and everybody in between. Shout out to the family. And oh yeah, by the way, um, since you getting your doctorate and everything, don't you owe me dinner? All right, family. So we're gonna leave on
All
that.
right, wait.
So we're gonna leave on that note. Oh, you gonna give us a wine today? You gonna get it right today? Let me hear this. Let me come on,
No, because
come
you
on.
asked about dinner. Nope, nope, you get nothing.
Oh, you got come on, one time for the fam. You gotta do it one time for the gram.
Mm-mm, mm-mm, no wine, no, nah, nope, not,
Just a half of one. Just a
nah.
all
That's
right,
it.
family. What'd you say?
Nope, uh, not happening.
All right, family. We're gonna get on out of here. Y'all show some love to my sister. How can they get in touch with you if they want you to come speak somewhere?
You can always email me at innovative approaches. That's along put together. Dot Candice Candice at gmail.com.
Innovative approaches dot candice.com gmail.com.
At gmail.com.
All right, family, y'all know how to get in touch with us. If y'all have some stuff y'all want to get back to my sister and y'all can't get in touch or y'all don't remember that, listen, just hit your boy up at Let's Talk with Stanley D at gmail.com or hit the show up, whatever it is. Come get at your boy. We have too much fun. So we love y'all. We thank y'all. And we'll see y'all next week on Let's Talk with Stanley Doucette. Remember, keep talking. It's on. Talk with y'all soon. Peace.